back with another NBA pod. We're gonna do the Western side of things. Jonah, you want to give the intro?
Yeah, so about the same as last week, what we did with the Eastern Conference, we've got the over-unders here, courtesy of Caesars Sportsbook, which I just figure that one's the most reputable. I should have said that for last time, but that's where we're getting the odds from, is from Caesars. So just to get that out of the way. So yeah, we're going to go through, give our predictions for each team's win total at the end of the year, whether or not we think they're going to exceed the projection that Vegas has for them, and just kind of give a brief explanation of what we think will be some important things to look out for each team. So I guess we should start, as we often do, with our predicted number one team in the conference. And I think that might be different for me and Channon than it is with Kellan. It might be different for all of us. But Channon, do you want to lead us off with your number one team?
No. Someone else can. I need to think about it.
All right, maybe I'll pass it over to our certified warrior boy, Kellan.
I'm gonna go Phoenix Suns, number one seed.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right. And how many games are the Suns gonna win? If you just the ballpark.
They're gonna go 53 wins there. Well, actually, wow. Okay, no, that's about right. So, what was the highest over under? The highest over under was like 55 for the Nets, right?
Yeah, they're all pretty packed in this year, and they didn't give a high win total to anybody, really.
Yeah, in the West?
Yeah, in the West, I think it's the Jazz and the Suns at 51.5. So,
wow.
I mean, I think inevitably someone's going to win like 55 or 56 games at least. They just don't know who that is. So,
give me Suns 56 games, dude.
56. Wow. What do you like about the Suns this year?
I don't know, man. Just, it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
The Bucks are just so hard. The Suns are just so hard to beat.
Yeah, I agree with you. They brought back a similar roster to last year, which I think is very well balanced, because you've got the two guards in Chris Paul and Devin Booker, who kind of ensure your offense will be on the right track, and then DeAndre Ayton, who is a very good pick and roll center, but also anchors the defense. And what I liked about their offseason this year is they brought in JaVale McGee as the backup center, because obviously Saric is going to be out the whole season. So having 48 minutes of that rim protection, and JaVale McGee, who honestly is one of the best pick and roll lob threats in the league, he should pair very nicely with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. And then just so much depth on this team too, because you've got Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jake Carter, Abdel Nader at the wing. They brought in Landry Shamet. They should be pretty much resilient to injuries.
You got the best center in the game.
Yeah, I think Aiden's the only one who they wouldn't really be able to withstand a injury to this season. Just a very balanced roster. They were successful last year, and I think they can roll that over this year. I've got them winning 52 games.
Yeah. Cam Johnson? He's good.
Yeah, very solid.
I'm going to give him 51.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right.
I think is
that your one seed, Channon?
No.
I think they did benefit last year just from being one of the healthiest teams in the NBA. So I think it might be slightly unfair to expect them to just go out and win the Western Conference again, even though I do think they have as good a chance as anybody else of doing that. I don't think they should be considered the favorites this year by any stretch, but they're just a very solid team. I think low 50s, even to mid 50s, is a very reasonable estimate. So I guess I'll throw out my one seed. I've got the Jazz again.
That's what I was gonna say. Dang, yeah. I should have said mine, so I didn't think I got.
Yeah, me and Channon were kind of I think we had a very good read on the Jazz last year, because I think we both really liked them as a regular season team, but kind of saw in advance their playoff shortcomings. And I mean, losing 4 consecutive games to a Clippers team without Kawhi Leonard is just totally unacceptable. And I don't really think the Jazz are going to have much more success this year in the playoffs. But I mean, they're just such a dangerous regular season team, because between Bogdanovich, Mitchell, Conley, Ingles, Clarkson, just so many guys who can pass, dribble, shoot, and play make at their respective positions, and they move the ball so well. Obviously, lead the league in passes, lead the league in assists. That's just such a hard offense to slow down, because they can exploit any defensive mistake, and on any given night against an average NBA defense, there are going to be plenty of mistakes to exploit. So they just can kind of prey on every team that isn't completely locked in on defense, which is just so lethal. And then Rudy Gobert pretty much ensures that they're going to have in top 5 defense, which that is a tremendous floor raiser during the regular season. And so the Jazz, they've kind of just got it down to a science at this point. They just are going to be able to pile up regular season wins again. I think my main concern for them is with such like a multi-pronged attack, when you rely on having such a balanced offense with like so many different players who can like attack mismatches or just attack a crease in the defense, it becomes like more of an issue when individual prongs get dulled just because you rely on that balance. So as Bogdanovich and Ingles both get older and maybe start to move out of their primes, I wonder if that will slow down the Jazz, but I don't think that'll be too big of an issue this year. And during the playoffs, I think we really saw Donovan Mitchell move up to even a potentially higher level. So I'll be curious to see how he plays this year, because I think it's reasonable to expect him to take yet another step forward, which I think that probably has more postseason implications than regular season, but just something to look out for. But yeah, Jazz are my pick for the 1 seed, and Channon as well.
Yeah, basically everything you said, man. They're just built for the regular season. Unfortunately, nothing beyond that, but yeah,
Donovan MVP.
they're a step ahead of everyone in the regular season, it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be no, I feel like it'll be the same this year. I feel like last year that it was like all the other teams seemed to be more shaken up just with like the short off season and everything like that, and they seem to just be on it from the get. But I still think they'll be.
And I don't think the Jazz will be quite as dominant as they were last year, because last year they were on pace for like a 60-win season in 82 games, and this year I've only got them at 54. So they did have pretty good injury luck until Conley and Mitchell got a little banged up towards the end of the regular season, but
yeah,
slightly less dominant than they were last season. But do you guys have a win projection for Utah?
I'm gonna say 53.
50.
All right.
Oh, under. That's a red one right there.
I think there'll be maybe a particular team who people are surprised hasn't been mentioned yet. It's a team that I think people are expecting to run away with the Western Conference. Do you guys want to talk about the Lakers next?
Sure,
Oh,
bro.
wow. LA Lakers, baby.
Oh,
are they the highest?
They have the highest over/under in the Western Conference. Yeah, they're higher than Utah or Phoenix.
Lock me in for a
That's some
45
cat, bro.
right there.
They're gonna have like half their roster resting every other game.
Yeah, because when you think about their big three, LeBron, Russ, and AD, I guess if you could call them a big three, all three of them like dealt with major injuries throughout last season, and so they definitely will be trying to load manage.
I feel like Westbrook could probably take the most games out of those three, but we'll see. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think they'll have a really good defense again, just because all the size they've accumulated in the front court, and like Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard's back, who's a great rim protector in his own right. They added DeAndre Jordan, who I'm a little bit less sure about him. Probably would have just rather kept Gasol.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Bringing in DeAndre Jordan, but I don't think that'll hurt them too much. And then obviously having LeBron as kind of that free safety power forward on defense is a huge asset as well, especially when he's locked in. They lost a lot of defense at the guard spot, though. I mean, KCP and Caruso, you'd have to say they were probably their two best perimeter defenders, and Wesley Matthews for that matter. They haven't officially brought him back yet. I don't know what's going to happen with Wesley Matthews, but I do think their perimeter defense is a lot worse, especially bringing in Russell Westbrook, who's a bit of a liability in that regard. But ultimately, I think the Lakers will be pretty successful during the regular season. I have more concerns about them in the playoffs, I think, just because of the way the roster is built. But there are just very few teams who have an answer for a guy like LeBron James, or like even Russell Westbrook for that matter, although Westbrook has – I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't give Westbrook that much credit. I mean, when he's playing his best, like he's obviously hard to stop, but that doesn't happen very often anymore. And then Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard, just kind of that the twin towers in the front court. They'll have, like I said, a top 5 defense again. And I like the shooting they added on this team as well, whether it's like Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk. They brought in Wayne Allen.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Trevor Ariza can shoot the ball adequately. He's still a decent 3-and-D guy at this point in his career, but I don't know. They're a hard team to predict. Like Channon was saying, you don't really know how seriously they'll be taking the regular season. I'm gonna pick them to win 50 games though.
Okay.
Damn. Yeah, like you just said, it's so hard to predict them because we don't know what to expect from like minutes and just like level of effort. I'm gonna say 48.
I will say that I'm more optimistic about them as a regular season team than a postseason team, which is kind of counterintuitive given like the age and injury like proneness of their roster. You would think they'd be focusing more of their like stamina into the postseason, which I think they will be. But I think there are just so many awkward fits on the roster that will be more easily exploited in a playoff setting. But I think they'll
It's facts. It's kind of like the
Lakers
Jazz situation.
Yeah, the Lakers will be able to beat up on like the bottom of the barrel teams. Like it's not like the Timberwolves are going to be able to come into town and like slow down like Russell Westbrook and LeBron James. So I think the Lakers are going to be the kind of team that really feasts on the lower level competition and then will be at least competitive against some of the upper tier teams in the West. But unless you guys have anything else to say on the Lakers, maybe we can move on to
They're gonna have a hot start and taper off, and they're gonna get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs
all right.
because they're gonna end up running into.
By the Golden State Warriors.
I mean, I guess when you start out, I guess when your first game's against the Warriors, that kind of locks in the hot start part, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Especially
shit!
Clay
They play the
drop-
Warriors first
Clay
game?
drops 50 points on your ass.
When is that?
Clay's not going to be back in the first game. He's going to be out for a while.
Clay?
Yeah,
Really?
he's not coming back till at least Christmas.
Christmas time, dude. He's not. Oh my god, really?
Mhm.
Oh,
That's a long time.
baby.
When's the first game?
I just assumed he'd be healthy.
Yeah, he's gonna miss like the first third of the season because their first game's on October 19th, and so he will be out
that's
the first
soon.
month of the season. Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Kellan, have we
Just over a
got?
month.
We're the Jazz, your number 2 team, Kellan.
Man, sure. Yeah.
Who's your number 3 then, in that case?
Oh yeah. Go scroll up a little bit.
To the Warriors.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Oh
well,
yeah. Oh,
before we
48.
get into the Warriors, I want to do
Damn.
a little
Damn, they give the Warriors.
last year Kellan predicted the Warriors to go 55-17.
What'd they actually do? They
They
barely.
went 39-33, and so
Not too far off.
pretty
That's looking pretty
drastic
good.
miscalculation.
Hey, didn't they win? They won like their last 8 or 9 out of 10 or something on that one stretch there. They won. They had like a hot streak, and then they beat Memphis,
once
and they had to play Memphis in the playing game, and then lost.
I know that's kind of one of the things
Or we lost the Lakers too.
wanted to talk about is once James Wiseman left the rotation, that's when the things really started humming for the Warriors. But they will be set back in the sense that James Wiseman will be healthy again to start the season. But I do think that this year the Warriors might focus a little bit more on winning games, which probably means that Kevon Looney will be the starter at the center position. Would that be your projection, Kellan?
Yeah, Kevon probably will be the center. Yeah,
Yeah.
switching with Draymond.
Yeah, and so it's just a fascinating team because last year I think you'd have to say their 2 biggest weaknesses were not having a traditional center aside from Kevon Looney. He really can't play more than like 18 or 20 minutes a game at this point in his career. And so I think that put too much of a tax on Draymond Green. And they played Eric Pascal to some success early in the season, but obviously that tapered off as the season went along. And then just not having enough playmaking aside from Steph. And they really didn't do anything to address either of those problems this year. So I'm like Channon was saying, I'm curious to see why this over-under is so much higher than what the Warriors were able to accomplish last season, because it really does seem like this team will suffer from like many of the same problems that the team last year did, except this year they will be without Kent Bazemore, who played a big role for them, Kelly Oubre, who is probably their best perimeter defender. I mean, you would love to be able to say Steph is going to be healthy all year and have like arguably the best season of his career, but who knows if he'll be able to repeat that. I mean, Draymond Green, I think, was healthier and more effective, at least through the regular season, than what could probably be reasonably expected this year. And so I do think this is a bit of an ambitious line. I mean, obviously the elephant in the room is that Clay is going to be back. And I think there's definitely an argument to be made that could be more than enough to bridge the gap between the 500-ish team that the Warriors project to be and like this Vegas line. But definitely a lot of weight on a guy who hasn't played for 2 years.
Yeah. What did I have Utah at? 50.
And you got the Suns at 56.
And then I had the Phoenix at 55.
56.
56. All right.
Yeah.
So if Utah's my, so if Utah's my 2 seed, I would have to make them below. So
yeah,
we'll
the
go.
Warriors could be your 2 seed though.
Yeah, that is possible, but I'll give him 49 games.
Okay, well that is shockingly sensible.
Hey, I mean, if Clay, if last year's any indicator of how things are gonna go, it could be a slow start, especially if Clay doesn't come back till like November, December.
Mm-hmm.
So,
did they end up with any like replacements for Oubre and Bazemore or not really?
I
Kelly.
think the idea is
Andre Iguodala.
And Kuminga and Moody as well. I think.
Well, yeah.
Kuminga's probably going to hurt more than he helps this year just because of how rough he is. And I mean, we saw with Kelly Oubre and James Wiseman just how difficult it is to place like a very raw rookie with maybe not a ton of basketball IQ into the Warriors system. So Kuminga is probably going to do more harm than good. But I actually think Moses Moody is a guy who's going to be able to contribute pretty well right away.
Yep. Dude,
I'm not
we don't have a ton of shooting, bro.
I'm not expecting anything from Iguodala, Porter,
No.
or Bjelica. At this point, those guys are, should we say,
coaching staff?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. Leadership.
But a guy who I am expecting a lot, I think this is one of the important swing players of this NBA season, is Jordan Poole.
Jordan, baby, let's go. Yeah, he has to clutch up this year because he's going to be so much improvement.
He's going to be their backup point guard, but I could see him closing a lot of games for the Warriors this year. Like I said, they're very much starved for like playmakers outside of Steph and Curry, and I think Poole is kind of the most intuitive fit into that role. I think the playing games, both of the playing games, in fact, last year kind of showed the limitations of putting the ball in Draymond Green's hands as kind of your lead facilitator. So I do think it would be worthwhile for the Warriors to explore playing more minutes with 2 playmaking guards on the floor. Obviously, with all the minutes Oubre and Bazemore and Mulder got at the shooting guard last year, that wasn't super realistic. And I don't think Klay Thompson's really going to be ready for that this season. But I really think Jordan Poole, if he continues his improvement, could fill a very important hole in the roster and be an extremely valuable player to the Warriors. And Juan Toscano-Anderson as well. I'm excited to see how he can improve this year. I was very impressed from what I saw from Anderson last season. So all of that being said, I think I'm going to take the Warriors to win 43 games this season. I think they've got just too many weaknesses up and down the roster, whether that's like injury risk, not a lot of rim protection outside of Draymond Green and Kevon Looney, who are pretty unreliable to be like every down backs in that regard throughout the regular season. And then just overall not knowing how things will mesh between Moody and Kuminga being added to the rotation, Wiseman coming back, just a lot of Klay Thompson coming back after 2 years, just a lot of like, there's a lot that could go wrong with this team. And I think that's not really being accounted for in this Vegas line. Like, I think in order for the Warriors to get up to like that 49-50 win range, like Steph's going to have to repeat his heroics from last year. Draymond's going to have to be healthy all season. Clay's going to have to come back and be at the very least probably like a Duncan Robinson type contributor on offense, which I mean, I think that is exceedingly optimistic. So I still think they'll make the playoffs. I have them as my 7th seed, but I have a hard time seeing the Warriors like turn themselves into one of the best teams in the Western Conference.
Yeah. Channon, what's your pick?
I'll give them 42.
Easy.
42.
Huh?
All right.
Wow. What the fuck? Wow. That's so okay. But Jonah, really quickly, I can even cut this out. But like, speaking of every down backs, did you watch the Oregon game?
Yeah.
That was pretty whack, huh?
Against Ohio State.
Yeah, that was crazy. CJ Verdell, he's a future Niner, baby. I'll keep that quick. But I was so surprised. I woke up 8:30 for that sucker, and that was the highlight of my day.
Yeah.
Especially on your BD.
People are saying that it's the Ducks' like biggest win of all time. So it's pretty cool.
Besides, remember Florida State when they played Jameis?
Yeah.
That was a big one too, but probably honestly. Crazy. Okay. Moving on from GSW.
All right.
Let's talk about the Mavs.
What was that, Channon?
I said, let's talk about the Mavs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good call. New coaching staff. Not a lot of turnover on the roster, but they did bring in Reggie Block, Sterling Brown, and I think, was it yesterday or this morning maybe that they brought in Frank Ntilikina. And then Kristaps.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently for the first time in his NBA career, Kristaps Porzingis had a healthy offseason. So we'll be curious to see if he can regain some of his earlier form. But yeah, an interesting team in Dallas. What are your thoughts on them, Channon?
I would assume and hope that Luka will continue progressing. Mm-hmm. Weren't there like whispers about like Luka and Kristaps maybe not working together long term?
Yeah.
Kind of curious to see what happens with that, because doesn't Kristaps want to be like a first option or something like that, or like more of the lead role?
Yeah, definitely more of the lead role. He was very much relegated in their series against the Clippers.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Dallas is dangerous.
Yeah, I think they'll be solid Western or regular season. I still don't see them ready to like make a serious playoff run, compared to like the other top teams in the West, and like obviously especially the East. But I think they'll be solid. I think they'll be better than the Warriors.
Yeah.
Jonah, what's the starting five?
I think they'll be better than a lot of teams in the West, but
Luka, Kristaps. Who else?
I mean, they still have Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson was really good last year.
Aren't they point guards though?
Who?
Brunson's a point guard, right?
Yeah, he's their backup point guard.
But he's going to be in the starting five?
Oh, you were asking their starting five?
Yeah.
Oh, the starting five is going to be Luka, Hardaway, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kristaps, and then probably Dwight Powell.
Okay. Yeah, I love Brunson though. He's really good.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. I'm a little concerned about their defense. I think the fact that they've got Willie Cauley-Stein, Boban Marjanovic, and Dwight Powell all on the roster tells me that they see Kristaps more as a power forward, which that's just a lot of size and not a lot of mobility in your defensive front court. And so I'm a little curious to see how those will kind of mesh together, especially given not a whole lot of defensive talent in the backcourt and a new coach in Jason Kidd. Because Carlisle, say what you want about Carlisle, but I think he's a very solid regular season coach. I think they just kind of started to grow tired of his presence in Dallas. But I think in terms of X's and O's, he's worlds ahead of Kidd. So I think that's a bit of a downgrade. But kind of just like Channon said, I think you get Luka Doncic, who should still be developing at this point in his career. And they've done a good job of surrounding him with shooting this year. I think they realized the mistake of swapping Seth Curry for Josh Richardson last year, and they brought in Reggie Bullock to kind of make amends for that. And so Luka and shooting and hopefully healthy Kristaps should be a recipe for a like top 5 offense in the NBA. And I'm not really expecting much out of their defense, honestly, but I think this will just kind of be a very solid Western Conference team. I think they're going to win 50 games. I think the key to their season, and this is more to the playoffs, is Maxi Kleber, who I think really had a tough season last year due to COVID and injuries. He looked a little sluggish in the Clippers series. I mean, he hit like every three he took against the Clippers, but just defensively wasn't the guy we saw in the 2019-20 season, especially in that 2020 series against LA. And so if he can kind of regain his earlier form, and I know we just talked about not wanting to relegate KP anymore, but if they could like run some units with Kleba as a small ball center, I think that could really unlock some things for them defensively, especially considering they play like with a little bit more size in the backcourt because of Luka being the point guard and like 6'7". So Kleba's a guy I'll be watching carefully this season. But yeah, I think the Mavs will be competing for home court advantage.
What about Tyrell Terry?
I know. I don't really see a spot for him in the rotation once again this year. A little worried about him. He was disappointing in summer league, although he only played very limited minutes before he got injured. So yeah, I don't think this will be the year Tyrell Terry breaks out. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's
Channon,
okay.
What did you say?
Steph was a late bloomer too.
What did you say your win projection was, Channon?
I'm gonna go with I'm just gonna go with 48.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable. Kellan?
46.
46. Wow.
Can we talk about the Nuggets?
Yeah.
Because like when I'm going through my predictions for them, ever since you told me that you don't think they're going to be as good, because they don't have a ton of rim protection, I just don't know where to gauge them. Because they were so good last year, but
well, how long till Jamal Murray's back?
It's going to be a while, I think.
Jesus. But they still won without him, though.
Yeah.
Who did they pick up? Austin Rivers, right?
Yeah, they brought back Austin Rivers this year. And then a lot of it was the front court. I think Jeff Green, that might be a pretty solid signing for them. They re-signed Will Barton, who was out most of the year, and PJ Dozier was another guy who missed a lot of time. So just having those guys healthy might make a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
And Bones Highland, their draft pick. Some people are really high on him.
The rim protection is bad.
It is bad. And JaVale McGee was pretty solid at backup center, and they replaced him with a combination of probably Zeke Naji, Jeff Green, and JaMychal Green, which is a little bit concerning as well.
Right. Because that doesn't address the rim protection problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with the Nuggets. What's their? Is it 47 and a half? I'm gonna go with 44.
Did Jokic win MVP?
Yeah, he did.
You think he's gonna play at that level this season or take a step back?
I don't think he'll win MVP again, but I think he's one of the best offensive players in the NBA for sure.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And he's just such a matchup nightmare too, because there are just so few centers in the NBA that can guard him. And it's not like a Damian Lillard or Steph Curry, because both of those guys are like dominant offensive players, but like what they do is like still difficult, like even like Damian Lillard or Steph Curry, like they both have to like hit impossible shots to kind of get their efficiency up, if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Whereas
Absolutely.
Jokic is like just much more reliable, because like what he does is a bit more like consistently repeatable, just because more of like a matchup thing rather than like Curry or Lillard. They can get their shot off against any team and it might go in like 35 to 40% of the time. Whereas Jokic, like he can get what he wants every possession and it works almost all the time. And even if it doesn't result in a score, he almost always gets like an open shot for himself or a teammate, which I think that's the problem, is that the teammates are just so bad this season. I mean, maybe you think Michael Porter Jr. takes another step forward this season, but I think this Michael Porter Jr., like the most improved player stuff has just been, it's really bizarre to me this offseason, because he has been getting a lot of hype for that particular award. But last year he averaged 19 points on 40% shooting from beyond the arc and 50% shooting. Like he's not going to be better than that. Like he's probably going to be worse.
Yeah.
It's insane efficiency. But I do think that like Michael Porter Jr. He's like, this might sound crazy, but like he pretty much is like Klay Thompson on offense, just like this really tall 40% shooter with a very fast release who gets his shot off over almost any defender because of his positional size. I don't think he moves as well as Klay does off the ball, but the Mike Malone, he did have some interesting sets to run and get Porter open looks last year. I think the biggest part of his game that could improve is maybe putting the ball on the floor a little more and getting his own shots instead of having so many of his baskets come off assists. But I don't think I'm very optimistic on his ability to do that. The Nuggets will have a bad defense this season. They just have just no rim protection. They play very small in the backcourt with Austin Rivers, Monte Morris, Facundo Campazzo, Bones Highland. That's a guy who's probably going to be a defensive liability. The defense is going to be below average, but I mean, Jokic is just such a dominating offensive player in the regular season. And so, this is a tough team to predict again. Jokic, I think the best thing you can say about him is just how durable he is. I think you can count on him to miss like no more than 5 games. I'm going to take the Nuggets to win 49 games this season.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I was going to go with 48.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm surprised it's this low. Like, I usually am not a Nuggets optimist, so I think that I think that means that they're a little low this season.
I just think that like Jokic is like one of the best players for just getting regular season wins, like just making it happen because of all the reasons you said. He's so durable. His game is so like it comes to him so much easier than other stars because of his size and skill.
Exactly.
Like he really can just get a bucket on actually any possession. Mm-hmm. So like in the regular season, like that translates to wins.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a team that clearly stands out as better than the rest of the teams we have yet to talk about at this point. And that's the Portland Trailblazers.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Dame's new song is kind of good. Not going to lie.
Yeah, I have to say I don't really keep up to date with.
Is it? I haven't heard it.
Huh?
Was that the video where he was like doing he posted about it and he was like paying homage to all the goats or something like that?
I don't know. He posted like a clip of his video on Instagram. I follow him because he's cool, but hate when the Warriors
you
play.
You better follow him.
Yeah, he's a savage.
Dame Dollar.
Baby Dame Dollar Trailblazers down there.
Him Duncan, that's the song.
Yeah, him Duncan. Jonah, you should just get an Instagram account and just follow Dame.
Okay.
And get him to follow you back and just have one follower following one, just you and Dame. That'd be so sick.
Wait, Jonah, you're going to be in Eugene, right? Like this.
Yeah.
I'm doing a show there on the October 30th.
He's doing a concert?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be sick.
I'll
have to give you the... Huh?
Where is it?
It's going to be at like a frat down there. It's going to be lit. It's like a album debut party type thing. It's going to be
Who's
sick.
his opener? Is it just him?
Give you the details. I might do an opener.
What?
I'm not sure. No, it's my show.
Is it your show?
Yes. Me.
Oh, I thought you were talking
Shy
about
High.
Dame, bro.
No, Shy High.
Is it Dante's frat?
Nah, I think it's maybe one that he used to be like affiliated with somehow. I don't know. He's not in any anymore, but he just said they have like a big stage in their backyard. And so
how are we not on the same page right there?
I just brought that up randomly because I just remember the fact that Jonah will be in Eugene. So
because I thought it was, I was like, that's a random spot for Dame to drop an album. I was like, who's opening for him? Wow. No, that's sick though, Channon. Good for you, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that sounds awesome. All right. Yeah, the Blazers, though, a slightly less talented musical artist in Dame Dollar, but I think we'll give him credit anyway. 44.5. And my first thought is just this is a very low win total. Like, I think the Blazers could have a very disappointing season and still finish pretty well over 44.5 wins.
Yeah.
The Blazers finished last year with the second offense in the NBA, and that was with Norm Powell only playing half the season. I mean, I guess you did have Gary Trent, but I think Norm Powell is a better offensive player than Gary Trent is, and the Blazers were definitely better offensively with Norm Powell on the floor than they were with Trent. And then also McCollum missed a ton of games last season, which he's not
ton of games.
Prone. He's not an injury-prone guy. I think it was just a complete fluke with Capella landing on his foot like that. So I wouldn't expect that to happen again this year. So depending on the Nets injury situation, I do think you could see the Blazers moving into the number one offense in the league this year. But I think the more sensible projection, what I haven't projected at, is comfortably the second best offense in the league, which I think they can definitely repeat that again this year. And I think the headline is going to be the defense, though, because they did bring in Chauncey Billups, who's for sure going to be tasked with improving the defense. And when Nurkic was on the floor last year, the Blazers were actually not only competent, but well above average defensively. The stat was from the Nuggets series. Over the course of the Nuggets series, the Blazers got outscored. I think it was by 4 points. The Nuggets outscored the Blazers by 4 points when you add up all the games together. But when Nurkic was on the floor, we outscored them by 48. So
damn,
it cannot be overstated the impact he has on Portland, especially on the defensive end of things. It was really the bench. The combination of Cantor and Melo is just so toxic defensively. But I mean, the Blazers fixed that this year. They brought in Cody Zeller and Larry Nance. And so I do think with good health, the Blazers will be an above average defense. But I don't really think you can account for good health with this team, especially given the injury histories of both Zeller and Nurkic and Larry Nance for that matter. I do think there will be very few games where all three of those guys play together. So
you never know. You never know.
You do never know. So that's a concern. At full health, I think this team is definitely can be considered one of the best in the Western Conference, but I do think there are just like too many sensitive spots in terms of depth. Like Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are really the only two guys I trust to be like that point guard facilitator. If one of them misses any time, you'll probably see like guys like Anthony Simons or Norm Powell running the offense, which will be that's just not something they're suited to do.
No.
The depth in the front court is an issue too, with Nurkic and Zeller being the only guys who are like taller than like 6'7", and both of those guys are very much injury prone. Maybe they bring in Marquise Chris as the third string center. I think that would be a great idea, but I mean, I'm not too excited to be relying on him if one of those first two centers goes down. So I really like this team on paper. I think the depth in certain areas kind of concerns me, but I think 50 wins is a very reasonable estimation for them. And I do think
I'm excited.
Playoff team.
Yeah, 50
What'd you say?
Sounds good.
I really like their playoff versatility this year because Larry Nance played a lot of small ball center in Cleveland, and Chauncey Billups, he's won a championship, so he has that, I guess, experience.
That's facts.
So
Give me 48.
All right, and
Can't
Channon,
have him have more than the Warriors, you know.
Yeah,
I was gonna go 49.
49. All right,
tied with the Warriors.
I'm excited.
Huh?
I'm excited to see what they do.
Oh,
It'll be really interesting.
Why is this?
It's a very good roster. I do feel like we addressed like issues that we had, like you were saying. I'm just excited to see what like the culture changes, like if any, with a different coaching staff. It'll be fun. Wasn't there? No, that was it. But yeah, good players, man. We got good players. Hopefully they play well and stay healthy. I'm just so like unsure about what to expect from Nurkic. He just gave me such a weird vibe at the end of the season last year. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it seems like he's been in the gym. So we'll see.
Yeah, and from what like reading the tea leaves based on his comments after the Denver season or series, it seemed like he was very ready for Terry Stotts to kind of be shown the door. So maybe having a new coach will rejuvenate him a little bit.
That's true.
All right, I think it's a very clear top 7 in the Western Conference, and we've gotten through those 7 teams. And I mean, if Kawhi's healthy, everything just looks completely different. But
yeah,
really, that'll be likely this year. It seems like he probably will miss most, if not all, of this season. But I think eighth. I think they're pretty much all but one team that could at least be a threat for the playing games. So I think it's anybody's guess from here on out. So do any of you guys have a team?
Bro, I'm looking at the two teams right in between the Jazz and the Blazers.
The Kings
Spurs are criminally low, dude.
Yeah.
You got DeJounte Murray playing, anything's possible. And then the Kings have the most stacked backcourt in the NBA by far. De'Aaron, Halliburton, fucking Davion Mitchell, dude. Get out of here with that. Is Buddy Hield still on the team?
Yeah, Buddy Hield's still there.
Wow, there we go. That's a scrapper team right there. That's a team that's gonna give problems to other people.
How much do you like the Kings?
Oh, they've got Davion Mitchell. That's my favorite player.
Yeah, I know, but how much do you like them in terms of wins?
Oh, how much do I like him? We'll go. Let's give him 45.
Holy!
Wow.
Yeah, give him 45 wins up in here.
All right, I like them quite a bit too. I really like their backcourt. I really like bringing back Rashawn Holmes. I think between Rashawn Holmes and then they've got so many backup centers. None of them are very good, but they have Alex Lynn, Tristan Thompson, Damian Jones. I think Chimezie Metu might be back. They drafted Nemius Kita, so there will be no shortage of options for Rashawn Holmes backup this year, which is...
I thought there was going to be more interest across the league for Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah, I did too. I thought Charlotte maybe made a big mistake by not going after him, but the Kings signed him to a huge bargain, so good for them, I guess. But I agree. I think Rashawn Holmes might be a little bit underrated. I do like their backcourt a lot too. I think De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Davion Mitchell. I'm concerned they might have to play all three of those guys at the same time a little bit too much, just because there are no wings on this team. Like Harrison Barnes is their best forward, and then after that, it's like Robert Woodard, Marvin Bagley. Just I don't think they'll have enough guys to play the 3 and the 4 this year. I think
they got some good players, low key.
Oh, yeah. They've got.
I think wings is just too big of a weakness for them to overcome, especially considering Harrison Barnes seems like a very likely guy who could be on the move at some point this year. I mean, if Buddy Hield keeps putting on weight like he did before last season, maybe he'll be a small forward this year, but I don't really know if that would be a good thing for Sacramento. And then, other than that, I like the guards, I like the center, but there's just nothing in between there. And they're still a little young. I like Luke Walton more than most, but I'm a little skeptical about him still. I think they'll be feisty. They'll compete for the play-in, but I have them winning 37 games.
That's what I was gonna say.
Hey, I like that Lou King. Yeah.
What?
That Lou King.
Oh yeah, Oregon Duck. Yeah.
Yes, smartest player on the team, right there.
Yeah. Yep. 2-way player. All right.
What about Marvin?
Harrison kind of giving up.
Get out of here! This team's gonna win a title in the upcoming years if they keep everybody together. I like the Kings. It's my new favorite team right there.
Let's talk about the Spurs, because I agree with what Kellan was saying. This seems like a very low win total for the Spurs, and I think my bold prediction for the Western Conference, I think it's going to be the San Antonio Spurs who end up getting the 8th seed this year. I think it's going to be a very non-competitive race for the 8th seed. I think it's not going to take very many wins to get it whatsoever. But I think the Spurs are going to go 39-43 and make the playoffs this year. I think people just are not considering how dominant this defense is going to be, because you've got Jakob Poeltl, who's one of the best rim protectors in the NBA, and an elite defensive backcourt in DeJounte Murray and Derek White, and then very complementary forwards, whether it's you can go with a more defensive look of Keldon Johnson, who's coming off of that Olympics appearance, and Devin Vassell, who they drafted last year. I just think that, and they brought in Thad Young, a great defender in his own right, although signs do point to them trading him. But I think if they get off to a hot start this year, they might just keep the band together, because I do think they want to win under Pop. So just great defensive personnel. Popovich is a really solid defensive coach. I could easily see San Antonio being a top 6 defensive team this year. And if you're just doing the math, if you're a top 6 defense, all you really need to do to be a 500 team is finish like top 23, 24 on offense. And the Spurs offensive personnel, it leaves a lot to be desired, especially when you look at DeMar DeRozan and Patty Mills leaving this offseason. But I don't use poker terminology very often, mostly because I don't play poker very often. But I will say that the Spurs have like a lot of outs. Like they have a lot of ways where things could go right for them this year. Because all they really need is like Derek White missed almost all of last year. If he's healthy, that's a competent guard to run the offense. Like DeJounte Murray is a guy who I think could really take a big step forward this year as his role gets expanded. They've got Josh Primo, it seems very unlikely that he'll be a positive contributor in his rookie year, but just another kind of young guy in the backcourt. Lonnie Walker, he's another guy who you could look to as maybe a guy who takes a step forward. Trey Jones, their rookie from last year, showed a lot in summer league, I thought. So they just have so many young guards in the backcourt that even if just one or two of them kind of blossoms this season, I think they'll be able to run a competent offense. And in addition to that, they've really juiced up the shooting on this team by bringing in Bryn Forbes and Doug McDermott, who I think will kind of grease the wheels and help guys like DeJounte Murray and Trey Jones, who maybe aren't necessarily the best shooters in the world. So, yeah, I really like the Spurs defense. I think you can count on them for being a top 10 defense, especially if Pirtle can maybe play like 30 minutes a game and foul a little bit less. I think the defense is very, very good. And then after that, they've just got so many players who seem like they could be primed to break out, whether it's DeJounte Murray or Keldon Johnson. But yeah, I think this is a good under the radar pick to make the playoffs, especially considering they will be trying to win as much as possible while Pop's still around. So yeah, 39-43 is my record for San Antonio.
James Wiseman is Jakob Pertl's daddy. He had his best game of his life against them, dude.
I think I remember that one.
Huh?
I said I think I remember that one. That was the game before the infamous Draymond shot against the Spurs.
He was trying to get the ball out, okay? Trying to draw the foul, get to the line, win the game. I'm gonna go 42.
Wow.
I was really negative. I was negative at the beginning, so I'm making up for it here.
I thought I was optimistic about the Spurs.
Hey, dude, it's 3 games. Come on.
I'm gonna go with 37, tied with the Kings.
Yeah. I do think that the Spurs are a pretty safe bet to win more than 28 games for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I think do you want to move on to a team that made the playoffs last year? We haven't gotten to them yet, the Memphis Grizzlies.
Dude, when I was making my predictions, Memphis was really high up there.
Wow.
Like, surprisingly, when I wasn't paying attention, I was just looking at game, like matchup by matchup. I'm like, yeah, the Grizzlies could beat them. Wins added up fast.
So it's safe to say you're pretty high on Memphis this season?
Well, yeah, a little salty still, but I'll get over it.
So what did all those wins add up to in the end?
Oh, they were up there. They were above 41, I think. But I don't know, dude. Do you think the Grizzlies are better than the Suns and the Kings? I mean, not the Suns, the Spurs and the Kings.
I think they're in that sphere.
You think they're all kind of the same?
The thing that worries me with the Grizzlies is it just kind of strikes me that like they're not really taking it very seriously this year because they traded away Jonas Valanciunas, who was probably the second best player on their team last year, for Steven Adams, a guy who's clearly worse than Valanciunas. And they did that in order to move up 7 spots in the draft, which is understandable because I guess moving up 7 spots in the draft to select Zaire Williams out of Stanford, like still building towards the future. And then they kind of made another move in that regard when they traded away Grayson Allen, who was a very key contributor for them last year, just to get Sam Merrill and a 2nd-round pick. It just kind of feels like they're more concerned about building for the future than winning games this season. It just kind of seems like that's the organizational direction that they're headed in. And maybe like John Morant is so good that doesn't matter, and Jaren Jackson comes back from injury and is the same guy he was in the 2019-20 season. But I just it doesn't really seem like the Grizzlies kind of value their success this season as much as like some of the other teams in this range do, which makes me a little more hesitant to pick them to do well.
Yeah. I just realized that I gave either the Spurs or the Kings 3 less wins than I gave the Lakers. So that's interesting there.
Well, no, you gave
Huh?
the Kings the exact same amount, right?
No, I gave him like 42, right?
No, you gave the Kings 45.
Oh,
and you gave the
wow.
Lakers
Wow.
45.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's a hot take. Channon, what's your stance on the Grizzlies this year?
I've never really liked the Grizzlies, honestly.
I think
I really haven't,
Going,
bro.
huh?
I think Steven Adams is a very
No.
bad fit with Ja Morant too. That sort of lack of shooting and lack of mobility. Like they're not going to be able to run up and down the court with Steven Adams on the floor.
No, that doesn't make any sense, bro. He needs athletic big next time.
Yeah. So
Why
I
did
think the
Ja-
one thing that could really open this up is if Jaren Jackson develops and then maybe like Xavier Tillman or Brandon Clark has a good season. And then you can just maybe run a really small unit out there with like a Jackson Tillman front court and totally bypass Steven Adams. But I don't really think that highly of
Nah, bro.
Xavier
That
Tillman.
relies on too many bums having like a way above expectation season to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
not
I like
optimistic
a lot
about
of-
the Grizzlies.
I like a lot of players on this team. Like I think Desmond Bain is poised to have a very good sophomore season.
Desmond's jacked. He's a stud.
I'm still a huge fan of both Dylan Brooks and Kyle Anderson. I really like what they give them, but yeah, I just think people might be slightly underrating the importance that Jonas Valanciunas
Dude.
adds to this team.
Oh yeah, he was huge. But the Blazers were supposed to get Kyle Anderson, bro. What happened?
Well, we got Larry Nance. I mean, I think that's even.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess that's facts.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think the Grizzlies are going to win 41 games. That seems very optimistic because, I mean, that's an above 500 team. I guess they were above 500 last year, but I think they're clearly worse than last year unless, like we were saying, like unless Jaren Jackson has an awesome season, which, I mean, it's always a possibility. But, yeah, I'm going to pick them to win 38 games.
Oh, you guys got Marquise Chris?
Yeah.
Oh man, he's a good player. You guys scored with him. If he comes back like healthy, he was good for us.
Yeah, I liked that
Damn.
acquisition.
Ben Mack.
I'm feeling a light 37 on the Grizzlies.
Nice. Kellan,
Yeah, give me 39.
you said you thought they'd win more than 41.
Yeah, I know that, okay? But I gave a lot of people on the lower list part overs, so I
That's
gotta
fair.
just.
Gotta balance it out.
Hey, you guys got Dennis Smith, huh?
I mean, him and Chris are both just training camp guys.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about the Pelicans next? They're a very
Yeah, they're gonna be good.
tough team to calibrate. How good do you think they'll become?
I think that they're gonna be right around what their over under is.
Oh yeah.
Give me a 38.
38. All right. I think that's fair. I think they're going to be one of the worst defenses in the league because they were already 22nd in defense last year, if memory serves. And then they got rid of Eric Bledsoe, Lonzo Ball, and Steven Adams, who are probably the 3 best defenders who played regular minutes for them, and replaced them with Devontae Graham, Tomas Satoransky, and Jonas Valanciunas, who are a pretty big step down on defense. They build Valanciunas as this like great 3-point shooter who's going to give a lot of spacing to Zion. And I mean, he's a better shooter than Steven Adams, but I don't think functionally that'll make Zion's life a lot easier. So I'm not too keen on that fit. Like I just don't get why the Pelicans think they've got to pair Zion with like some big burly center. Like, why is it that they have to have like a Steven Adams or a Jonas Valanciunas? I wish they'd try to go a little bit more small and mobile, but I think the offense is going to be pretty good just because of the shooting that they added between Devontae Graham and Satoransky. More of a low volume guy, but he shot 40% last year. Graham is more high volume, lower efficiency, but I think that's the kind of guy you need around Zion. They still have Brandon Ingram, who is a great shooter in his own right. It'll be interesting to see how some of the younger guys develop, whether it's like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kyra Lewis, Najee Marshall. I think those guys are going to play a big role in determining how successful the Pelicans are this season, because I think those are theoretically the two-way players that the Pelicans are going to need at the guard position as an alternative to like a Devontae Graham, but I'm not holding my breath for them or anything. They did retain Josh Hart, which is big. They've got Garrett Temple on the wing as well. They drafted Trey Murphy, who's a guy who I think is going to be a 3-and-D contributor right away. So there are some interesting pieces for sure. A lot of really weird players on this team. And I think that starts with Zion Williamson. But yeah, I think the defense is going to be a lot worse. And offensively, there are just so many good offensive teams in the league this year that I think it's hard to pick a team just because you think they have a good offense, because like I just don't think having a good offense doesn't cut it anymore. Like there's just so many talent. There's just so much talent in the league right now. But I think the Pels are going to win 35 games.
I think the Pelicans are going to be horrible.
Really?
Yeah.
I can see it.
I think they're going to be one of my picks for really bad teams this year.
Interesting.
I'm going to give them, well, not like as bad as like I predicted the Rockets and the Timberwolves last year,
Right.
but yeah, it's not looking too hot for these guys. I'm going to give them 28.
Wow. All right.
No way, guy. Get out of here. You got Zion on your squad. You're going to win over 30 games.
Do you think Zion is
bro.
part of that, factoring in maybe Zion a bit of a health concern too?
That, and I don't think that Zion and Brandon Ingram are going to carry them to over 30 wins, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will say if they do somehow like make the playoffs as like a 7 or 8 seed, like Zion could be a sneaky MVP candidate, because I think he's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting for that.
That would be really sick. I would love to see that. That would be really, really sick.
All right,
but
so
I'm not feeling good on him.
We're down to our last 3 teams now. Or no, we still have the Clippers left to do. Let's do the Clippers.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think the Clippers I think are a lot better than the Pelicans. I think they kind of slot in with like the Kings and the Grizzlies. I think 45.5 is way too high, just because I'm not too optimistic about Kawhi Leonard returning this year, especially after they signed him to like that 4-year with a player option, that 4+1 contract. I just don't really think they have to be in too much of a rush to bring him back this year. They're probably more so gearing up for next season, which I think is what they should be doing. But yeah, just not enough playmaking on this roster for my taste. I think Paul George, I think they were very successful last year without Kawhi in the playoffs, beating the Jazz and having a very competitive showing against the Suns. But I think obviously it's unrealistic to expect Paul George to be playing over 40 minutes a game this year because of some of his injury concerns. And outside of Paul George, there's just not enough guys on this team who I feel comfortable having the ball in their hands. Like you've got Eric Bledsoe, who I think was a necessary acquisition just to have somebody who can run pick and roll. But I mean, he's really fallen quickly the past couple of years. So he's not a guy I'm extremely excited about. Reggie Jackson, I think, is more of just a shooter who can like attack a closeout more than a traditional point guard. Terrence Mann and Luke Kennard, like both of them are more play finishers than play creators, in my opinion. I just have a hard time just seeing where the offense is going to come from. It just feels like this team has a lot of like good, solid contributors on a playoff team, but without Kawhi, I mean, obviously they're just missing that main guy who kind of stirs the drink. And so I think it's going to be a disappointing season for the Clippers. I think
that's facts.
I think Paul George is going to have a good year, but I don't think even that's going to be enough to save them.
33.
You're so right. Yeah.
I'll
Did
take
you say
him.
33?
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean,
I'm gonna
hell,
give
dude,
him 39.
Jonah
Actually,
gave him 38. That's 5 games. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
I know. I guess it just felt so low. It's just weird.
5 games, that's quite a bit of games.
Nah, get out of here.
That's a lot of games. So we're down to our last 3 now, I guess. The
You don't have your
Timberwolves.
best player, dude. That's a big deal.
Timberwolves.
Dude, the Rockets. Let's go. Jonah got me excited for the Rockets because that freaking guy, the new guy. Yeah.
He had an
And
incredible
freaking
summer.
KPJ, who I picked on my team, KPJ, and then he started going crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be a very they're going to be bad, but they're going to be a very exciting bad team because Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. are just 2 guys who just go out there and get a ton of.
We need to go to a Rockets Blazers game. I'm trying to see these guys live, bro.
That would be fun. They're going to be a thrilling team to watch because they've really got interesting players up and down the roster. Because I was very pessimistic about Alperen Şengün after the draft, and I still am not his biggest fan, I don't think, but he showed a lot of stuff in summer league. I think he could be kind of like maybe the next Domantas Sabonis, if anything. He's just a very adept post scorer. And then they brought in Daniel Tice, who I don't necessarily understand why, because they have so many young guys who theoretically need minutes at the 4 and 5, which is where Tice will play. But I mean, I think he'll help them. He's a very good player. So I just don't really know what to make of them. They just have, it's a very interesting team because I want to say they're going to be terrible defensively just because of how small they are, because you think Christian Wood and Tice will probably be the 2 main centers who get a lot of minutes, and both of them are 6'10" or smaller. But I mean, then you also have Jayshawn Tate, who's an awesome defender. You've got Usman Garuba, who was one of the best defenders in the EuroLeague last season. Like they're going to have some very it's going to be very interesting to see what Steven Silas does here, because he could go with a lot of small ball units that are just super versatile and have a lot of switchability defensively. It's going to be a lot of just experimenting with different pieces this year. I hope that John Wall and Eric Gordon don't play very much, because I really want to see Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, like Channon was saying, just seeing those guys have kind of all the responsibility on their backs. So I
think they're low-key going to be kind of nice. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be better than the Pelicans. That's my pick.
Wow. I'm going to pick them to win 26 games. I guess you had the Pelicans so low that kind of makes sense. But do you kind of see the Rockets in the 29 to 30 range this year?
I'm going to give them 32.
My theory with the Rockets, because I agree with Channon that I like a lot of the talent on their team. I just think they're not really in the mode where they're kind of trying to win games yet. I think they'll be trying to just give their young guys some experience and just kind of mess around a little bit. And I think this year there are just so many teams that are trying to win. The only teams that are kind of in that rebuild mode right now are the Thunder, Rockets, Cavs, Magic, and Pistons. So I think the sheer amount of teams that are just going to be trying to be competitive and win on any given night is going to make it very hard for the younger.
That's facts. But I think that this team is going to be a team where they end up in a lot of sleeper close games because teams are expecting to handle them with ease, and a lot of them will. 50 of them will. But I think they're going to end up in close games, and I think they got low-key several guys who can make game-winning plays.
Kind of like the Grizzlies and Jaws rookie year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I think this situation is going to be.
I'm very excited to see the Rockets. I would be very happy to see them doing well, because that probably means that Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. are both having very good seasons, which would be a thrill to watch. Kellan, what do you make of the Rockets this year?
22.
Damn.
So pessimistic. All right. We're down to our last 2 teams. So I guess we can kind of do a speed round and try to wrap it up in these last 7 minutes. I think the Timberwolves are going to suck this year. Just so little.
Yes,
depth.
sir. Timberwolves. Hey, baby. Sorry, what?
So little depth, so little defense.
Yeah.
And they keep doing this, and I have no idea why. They keep putting all their resources into getting these guards. So now they have Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Leandro Bolmaro, Patrick Beverly, all guys who they're probably going to give quite a few minutes to. And I don't know why they keep investing so many resources into guys who are just going to take the ball away from their best player. And if I were Chris Finch, I'd be trying to run more stuff through Karl Anthony Towns, but that doesn't really seem to be the direction the Wolves are headed in. I think this is going to be a pretty bad team this year, so I'll pick them to win 29 games.
27 for me. We don't rock with the Timberwolves.
Yeah, 25.
All right, last team, Thunder. This is the worst team in the league, in my opinion. They just have so many guys who are going to be playing who just are not NBA players, frankly. Like, there are just going to be way too many minutes of like Teo Maledon, Alexei Pokashevsky, Josh Giddey, Darius Baisley. Not to say that these guys are never going to be like NBA caliber, just to say like in their first, second, and third seasons, like they just are not ready to contribute to winning basketball. They traded away Al Horford, who was actually a pretty important player. I think he fit very well with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last year, and replaced him with Derek Favors, who is much, much worse. So yeah, I think the Thunder kind of learned their lesson last year when they were borderline competent for like the first couple of months of the season. I think this year they're fully embracing the tank. I think Shai is very talented. I'm still pretty high on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think the hype on him has kind of gotten maybe a little bit overblown, but he's still can do pretty much anything he wants on the basketball court. And I just don't think there's enough talent surrounding him. I think the Thunder are just making life so hard on him this year by giving him so little shooting to place around him, giving him so few. Just so little spacing, so little consistency in the roster. Not a great pick and roll partner in Derek Favors. It's just they're just not setting him up to succeed, and I don't think they're even trying to set him up to succeed. So I think the Thunder are going to win 19 games this season.
That was going to be my pick too.
19.
There's a lot of red on the spreadsheet right now.
Yeah,
maybe.
What was your pick?
I'm gonna go with you. I'll roll with you guys on that one.
19. All right. Well, that wraps it up for the
A
Western
long
Conference.
season, winning 19 games. Wow, that would be awful.
Does anybody have any like big picture takes before we log off?
Those guys aren't going to care though, Kellan. Like, so many of them are like, "I'm in an NBA game. Let's freaking go, baby."
Lou Dort cares.
Like, I touched the ball. Let's freaking go.
Lou
Dort cares. Sorry, Lou Dort.
Okay.
It's just weird seeing how much like the tide has shifted from west to east, man. It's weird.
Yeah, that's
Big
a good
take?
point.
Big picture.
Yeah.
We're gonna see the Kings rattle up the Western Conference.
Yeah, I'm interested to kind of put together these standings for all of us because I think the Kings might be like your 4 or 5 seed. So
Wow, I'm high on him, dude. Okay, and also, Andrew Wiggins, he's gonna have a good year, dude.
Oh yeah, we should have mentioned him more in the Warriors section, but he was very solid last year.
He's money. We no more Pascal. We pulled the plug, just like you said, dude.
Who's the Warriors' second best player this season?
What do you mean?
Like, who's their second best player behind Steph?
Come on, man. Jonah, you're
I don't think it would be crazy.
You go to the Ivy League school of the Northwest, bro. You know exactly. You know exactly who the second best player is.
Kevon Looney.
Huh?
Do you think it's going to be Clay again?
Of course. Come on. Who do you think it is?
It could be Wiggins.
I think it could be Wiggins. I think
better than Clay? Guys, are we hearing what we're saying right now?
No, I'd go with Clay
Andrew Wiggins is going to be better.
I just don't think it's clear cut because I don't think it's going to be a clear cut thing. I think
it's going to be Steph and then Clay and A Wig.
Yeah.
What about Day?
Daddy?
Wait, would you rather have Draymond or Andrew Wiggins on your squad?
Oh, Andrew Wiggins.
Okay. That was a really quick answer there from Whoa.
Well, I mean, just because Andrew Wiggins can shoot 40% from 3 and doesn't need to turn the ball over 5 times a game to like
what was Draymond's 3-point percentage this year? Was it 20 something?
Yeah. It's not that the percentage is low, it's just that he never ever shoots it, you know.
Where's the okay? So besides Clay and Steph and Andrew, it has to be Jordan Poole's just got to clutch up shooting because we don't have our Kent Bazemore anywhere. We don't get our sporadic 40-point game from Kelly Oubre now. Like
maybe Kuminga. I think
Not-
Kuminga could be your new sporadic guy.
you think so? Because when
I
we
think
drafted him, you
sporadic
thought he
is
was
too
going to be just
generous
you thought he was
for
just going
Kelly
to be
Oubre.
a developmental guy.
I feel like a 40-point game from Kelly Oubre is more like a lottery jackpot than sporadic.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. Okay. Good job, Jonah. You
All
killed
right,
it.
I'll calculate the standings and then you can make an Instagram post or something.
I will.
like that.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Peace out.